Hello everyone. First of all, I extend a hearty welcome to all of you on behalf of our YouTube channel Balaji Education Point. In this video, we are going to discuss Master Cadre Syllabus for English. But before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Vaneet Kumar, MA English, MPhil, NET qualified, and I have 21-year teaching experience of a government college. So let's begin. The things we shall do in this video. I'm going to discuss a syllabus of Master Cadre. As you can see on your screen, the syllabus according to age-wise is given. But this is not enough, this is not sufficient. If you want to go through this syllabus thoroughly, I'm going to discuss the syllabus age-wise. First of all, as you all know, that every language, every literature has its own history. That is history of English literature, for example. History of English literature is must. You must have deep knowledge of history of English literature if you want to clear Master Cadre test. To make it easy, I'm going to discuss history of English literature first of all. First period in history of English literature is this is age of Chaucer. Let me tell you, although this period is not included in your syllabus, as you can see, first of all, we have Indian English writers. Indian English writers will discuss later. Before, let me discuss history of English literature. And you can see history of English literature in your syllabus begins with Elizabethan Age, but Elizabethan Age comes much later. Much later in the sense, before Elizabethan Age started in the history of English literature, many things had already taken place. So first of all, that's what I'm going to tell you in this video. First of all, we have age of Chaucer. Its timeline is 1340 to 1400. This period is known as age of Chaucer in the history of English literature. Chaucer, I hope you know very well, father of English, father of modern English. His full name is Geoffrey Chaucer. He's known as father of modern English because the English that we have today, the language, English language we have today, in fact, this is we can say this is started by Geoffrey Chaucer. So that's why this period is known as the age of Chaucer. But this period is not in our syllabus, so I'm not going to elaborate. Next, second period in the history of English literature is 15th century literature. 15th century literature, 1400 to 1500. Again, this period is not in our syllabus and there was nothing valuable during this period. So again, I'm going to skip this period also, but you must know. Then third, that is the point we are going to start from. Actually, this period is known as the Renaissance period, the age of Renaissance or the Renaissance period. Renaissance period has its timeline from 1500 to 1660. This is a long period going from 1500 to 1660, and this period can be divided further into various parts. Its first part is the age of preparation. The age of preparation. The age of preparation, this is the first stage of Renaissance, 1500 to 1579. This is known as the age of preparation. Second is the Elizabethan Age. That is the starting point in our syllabus for Master Cadre. The Elizabethan Age. This is also known as the age of Shakespeare. William Shakespeare. This was his age, and this is also known as the Golden Age. This is known as the Golden Age. This in itself is an MCQ. Which period is known as the Golden Age in the history of English literature? This is the Elizabethan Age or Age of Shakespeare, and its timing is 1579 to 1603. The name, the Elizabethan Age itself makes clear that Queen Elizabeth was ruling on England at that time. That's why this is known as the Elizabethan Age. The age of Shakespeare, because William Shakespeare was the greatest author of this period. You can see on your screen, Elizabethan Age. In this period, we shall discuss three authors. First is Christopher Marlowe, second is William Shakespeare, and third is Edmund Spenser. But before reading the authors, I will give you detailed introduction to Elizabethan Age, that what are the main features of this period, because most of the times the examiner may ask you questions related to the age itself, not related to the author. So along with author, we'll have to go through detailed study of the age as well, right? So next, after Elizabethan Age, after Elizabethan Age, third part of the Renaissance is known as the Jacobian Period. The Jacobian Period. Remind you, Jacobian is an adjective from King James, who was ruling on England at that time. So Jacobian refers to King James. Yes, the period for Jacobian Age is 1603 to 1625. This is known as Jacobian period, and this is also known as the age of John Donne. This is also known as the metaphysical period. The metaphysical period. Jacobian period, King James, the age of John Donne, the metaphysical period, and last part of the Renaissance is the Caroline period. The Caroline period. Caroline is an adjective from King Charles I. King Charles I, the ruler of England at that time, the Caroline period. King Charles. This is also known as the age of Milton, as John Milton was the main writer of this period, and its timeline is 1625 to 1649. This is known as the age of Milton. So these are four main stages of the Renaissance period. After this means 1649 to 1660. This period, although a part of Renaissance, but nothing constructive took place regarding literature in this period. Rather, this period brought a destruction of literature. How? Let me clarify. In this period, this is known as the Commonwealth. This is known as the Commonwealth period. In fact, King Charles I was a dictator type of person. So there was a revolt against him in this period. There was a revolt against him. King Charles I was executed, means killed, in 1641. After 1649, up to 1660, the Commonwealth period existed in England, but this period proved destructive for literature, as I already told you, because the people of this age, the people following Commonwealth, they were strictly against any kind of entertainment. So they demolished the theatres, they killed or they banished the dramatists, the actors, means people related to literature. So that's why in this period, no good literature existed. But in 1660, the Commonwealth period came to an end as the royal class made its comeback and King Charles II was restored to the Kingdom of England in 1660. 1660 में इंग्लैंड में वापस रॉयल क्लास का कमबैक हुआ. And this period, after this means, this period is known as the Restoration period. The Restoration period. Restoration means restore. Restored. Restore means come back. The Restoration period because the royal class was restored to the kingdom of England. So that's why this is known as the Restoration period. In your syllabus, you can see Jacobian to Restoration. The main authors of this period that we have to study: John Donne, John Milton, there is a spelling error, Ben Jonson, John Dryden, and approximately Jacobian to Restoration. It means 1603 to 1710. I'm saying approximately. So this period we shall cover, Jacobian to Restoration, and these authors will have to discuss. After this, yes, let us continue. I was telling you about the Restoration period. In fact, the Restoration period is basically a part of next major age. This age is the neoclassical. The neoclassical age. Neoclassical simply means, neoclassical da siddha jiha meaning hai, neo means new. Classical means old literature, means it was a kind of revival of old literature. Classical refers to Greek literature, Roman literature. In fact, ਜਿਹੜਾ Greek ਤੇ Roman literature ਹੈ, ਇਸਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦਾ oldest literature ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, and that is also considered the best literature. ਤਾਂ ਇਸ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਰਾਈਟਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਸਨੂੰ ਰਿਵਾਈਵ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ, ਉਸਨੂੰ ਨਿਊ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ. That's why this is known as the new classical age. The new classical age expands from 1660 to 1798. 1660 to 1798, and this period is further divided into three stages. Is it तीन अगे stages ने, phases कह लो चाहे. The first is the Restoration period, the period already in discussion, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ discuss ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ, the Restoration period. I told you 1660 to 1710. This is known as the Restoration period. क्यों? वो भी मैं ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ, क्योंकि King Charles II ਨੂੰ restore ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ. ਇਸ period ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ Charles II was restored to kingdom in this period. That's why this is known as the Restoration period. This period is basically known for a particular type of literature which is known as comedy of manners. Comedy of manners. I hope you have read The Way of the World by William Congreve. Anyhow, we'll discuss this thing in detail when we come to this period. Second stage is the Augustan age. The Augustan age. And third is the age of Johnson. The age of Johnson, that is Samuel Johnson, is one of the best critics in the history of English literature, Dr. Samuel Johnson. In your syllabus, you can see after Jacobian to Restoration, we have Augustan Age, and in this period we shall read Alexander Pope, Jonathan Swift, Joseph Addison, Samuel Richardson, Henry Fielding, etc. So these are the names of some of the main writers of the Augustan Age. Next, after the New Classical Age, next period in the history of English literature is the Romantic Period. From 1798 to 1800 1832. This is known as a Romantic Period. In fact, the basic difference between the Neoclassical period and the Romantic period was that the literature of the Neoclassical age was reason-oriented literature, but the Romantic literature, the literature of the Romantic period was basically heart-oriented, means written with the help of emotions, imagination, sentiments, etc. This was a basic difference. In fact, people got bored with the previous type of literature, so the Romantic literature was welcomed. The main writers of this period, you can see William Blake, William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor, this is Taylor, Coleridge, Lord Byron, P.B. Shelley, John Keats, Jane Austen, Sir Walter Scott, Mary Shelley, Matthew Gregory Lewis, Leigh Hunt, and Mary Wollstonecraft. This is one of the smallest years-wise, smallest period, but it has maximum number of writers from this period. After this, after Romantic period, we have the Victorian literature, the Victorian Age, or the Victorian Period. The Romantic period came to an end in 1832. So from 1832, a new period started. You know what I mean by new period? Means in this period, literature was written with different principles, different characteristics from the previous one. So that's why we need to mention the changes, why the Victorian period came. 1832 to 1901. This is the Victorian Age. We shall discuss in detail when we reach up to that point. In your syllabus, you can see Alfred Lord Tennyson. These are the authors of Victorian period. Robert Browning, Thomas Hardy, George Eliot, Samuel Butler. This is Butler, Elizabeth Gaskell, and Matthew Arnold. They are the main writers of the Victorian period. Then after this, we move to modern period. Means next age is known as the modern age or the twentieth century literature. इस पीरियड ਨੂੰ 20th century literature ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. 20th century literature 1901 onwards. This is known as the modern age or the 20th century literature, and main authors of this period that we have to discuss in our syllabus are T.S. Eliot, the greatest writer of this period. Then we have Virginia Woolf, the feminist, Joseph Conrad, James Joyce, E.M. Forster, D.H. Lawrence, W.B. Yeats, George Bernard Shaw, Harold Pinter, Samuel Beckett, I.A. Richards, F.R. Lewis, William Empson. The last three, I.A. Richards, F.R. Lewis, William Empson, they are critics. They are critics. And next, you can say last, is the contemporary period. The contemporary means which is still going on. Samkaleen. This is the contemporary period. And the authors of this period: Philip Larkin, Ted Hughes, Stevie Smith, Seamus Heaney, Evan Boland, George Orwell, William Golding, Doris Lessing, Graham Greene, Salman Rushdie, V.S. Naipaul, and Stephen Leacock. After this, we have certain more topics that we have to discuss, that we have to read, go through. This is related to grammar and linguistics. You can see on your screen the topics: phrase structure rule, transformational generative grammar, and the transformational rule, a brief introduction to Semitic languages, social linguistics, language variety, dialect क्या है, accent क्या है, register क्या है. Generally इस जो एक टॉपिक है इस ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ MCQs ਬਣਦੇ ਨੇ, they are related to dialect and register. जो ਤੁਸੀਂ B.Ed 'ਚ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਟੌਪਿਕਸ ਇਹ psycholinguistics, nature, application, behaviorist, cognitive and mental views of language learning, individual differences, etc. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਰਫ ਆਪਾਂ definitions ਵਗੈਰਾ ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਵੀ MCQs ਦੇ point of view ਤੋਂ required ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕ material ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ discuss ਕਰਾਂਗੇ. Then we have linguistics, phonetics, science, speed and writing, anthropologist, organs of speech ਕਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ. Generally linguistics ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ question ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ MCQs, they are from this part, organs of speech. Description and classification of sounds, this is also important. ਇਸ ਚੋਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ questions ਆਉਣਗੇ, morphology and word formation. ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਦੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ organs of speech and description and classification of sounds, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ focus ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਲਾਸਟ ਈਅਰ ਜਾਂ ਲਾਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਪੇਪਰ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ ਕਿ ਲਿੰਗੁਇਸਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ MCQs ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਦੋ ਟੌਪਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਹੀ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, organs of speech ਤੇ description and classification of sounds. Then difficulty level will be of graduation. This is just to say, actually in Master CADER you have to read almost all the writers that you will read for NET, UGC or NTA NET. Same syllabus है दोनों ਦਾ, बस फर्क की है NET ਦੇ syllabus ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ writers name नहीं ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ, ਇੱਥੇ writers ਦੇ names ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ. ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਦੀ ਓਨਲੀ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਸ. ਬਟ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹੀ ਰਾਈਟਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਫੋਕਸ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹੀ ਮੇਨ ਰਾਈਟਰਸ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਹੀ ਅਕਸਰ ਨੈਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਪੁੱਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ. ਇੱਕ ਬਸ ਸਟੱਡੀ ਲੈਵਲ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਫਰਕ ਹੋਏਗਾ. ਨੈਟ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਡੀਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਬਟ ਮਾਸਟਰ ਕੈਡਰ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਇੰਨੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਡੈਪਥ ਰਿਕੁਆਇਰਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. ਐਂਡ ਸਟਿਲ ਵਿਲ ਟਰਾਈ ਟੂ ਗੋ ਇਨਟੂ ਦ ਰਿਕੁਆਇਰਡ ਡੈਪਥ, ਜਿੰਨੀ ਵੀ ਮੀਨਸ ਲੋਡ ਹੈ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਹਰੇਕ ਆਥਰ ਤੇ ਉਸਦੀ ਬੁੱਕਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਚ ਕਵਰ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਇਨ ਦ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਚੇਨ ਆਫ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ. ਸੋ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਆਲ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਮਾਸਟਰ ਕੈਡਰ ਸਿਲੇਬਸ. ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਐਨੀਬਡੀ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿਡ ਐਮੰਗ ਯੂ, ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ 'ਚ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿਡ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਨੀਚੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਟੈਲੀਗ੍ਰਾਮ ਲਿੰਕ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ, WhatsApp ਨੰਬਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ, ਈਵਨ ਆਫਿਸ ਦੇ ਨੰਬਰਸ ਨੇ. ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਬੋਲ ਵੀ ਦਿੰਦਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨੰਬਰ ਨੋਟ ਕਰ ਲਓ. 9646810103. दूसरा नंबर है 7002 08095282208. For any query, you can call on these numbers. You can also join our Telegram channel, and you can also join our WhatsApp group for further information. And with this, thanks all of you, and wait for our next video that is going to discuss with the first author mentioned in our syllabus from Elizabethan period, that is Christopher Marlowe. Thank you very much.